I wanted to talk to you today about overcoming holiday stress and a few little tips to help keep your back nice and happy throughout this festive period. So when I go through Christmas, or we've already started to notice at a clinic, is everyone starts to get stressed. There's a heap more social interactions, there's Christmas parties, there's catching up with friends that you haven't seen all year, there's buying presents, there's getting gifts organized, there's lots of waiting around. If you have a young family, there's Santa photos, and it's just all extra stress. And I think it's always important to remember that whilst your back pain might be present, stress is definitely going to set your back pain off or make you more aware of it. And so when we are stressed, our body is not recovering as well as it usually is. If you think of your body kind of like a bucket, you're putting a lot more stress into it, and so it can start to overflow. And so you've got your physical stress, your emotional stress, your psychosocial, your psychospiritual. And all those things can just get flooded around this time of the year and give you more back pain. So a couple of things that you can start to do to make sure that you don't, back pain doesn't ruin your Christmas period or anything, is getting on top of a few of these little tips and tricks now. So the first thing we want to take you through is just mindful breathing. And so breath work or mindful breathing is something I've been practicing a lot more regularly, and I definitely notice that it gives me a nice sense of calm and helps me regulate my stress way better. And so one of the practices I'm loving at the moment is just a simple 1-1-2 breath. So that's inhale for 1, hold for 1, count, exhale for a 2 count. So I usually like to do a 4 or 5 second inhale. So it would look something like this. In, hold, out, in, hold, out, and then if I have a quiet space to do it, I'll sit down, I'll close my eyes, I'll chill out. It's also nice sometimes to do to a metronome so that you can listen to the tick-tock of the metronome and it distracts you from whatever else you're thinking about, because it starts to take over your cerebellum or the brainstem that's concerned about worrying about other things. It just focuses in on the tick-tock. So that's a nice one. And that is something I'm finding gives me heaps of relief and helps me be a much calmer and happy person, not just at Christmas time. The next tip that we want to give you is to stay active. And so make sure that you are carving out time for you to maintaining your normal exercise routine. It could be also though that you tweak your current exercise regime so that you're not doing so much high intensity, stressful stuff. You actually look at doing a bit more down-regulated stuff, so it might be longer walks or focusing in on a bit more muscular endurance. So you're doing, longer sets of 10, 12, 15 reps, but you're doing it at a much lighter weight. So it's not so stressful physically on your body and overloading your back. The next thing that you can start to do to help look after your back is spending more time stretching and foam rolling. So we know that all those other emotional stresses are going to impact on your back. So you need to be emptying the water out of that bucket so that it isn't overflowing. And the simple way to do that is with things like stretching or foam rolling. And so I actually noticed that I've started stretching and foam rolling before I go to bed, because it's a really nice way. A, it relieves a bit of the stress that I've done throughout the day with my training. But B, it also starts to put me into a more parasympathetic nervous system state before I go to bed. And so because I'm in a more relaxed state before I go to bed, I sleep better and I recover better. And so that then leads us into treating yourself with a few little niceties. So yes, it is a pretty hectic time of the year and you want to cut yourself a little bit of slack. So making sure that you're doing things that, you know, fill your cup up or make you feel energized, you know, massages, saunas, listening to a podcast that stimulates curiosity, you know, getting out in nature and getting out in awe and just like, you know, things that give you a bigger sense of purpose and stuff like that. The other thing that sort of pops up a lot around this time of year is people getting back pain from sustained postures, such as standing at like staff Christmas parties or social gatherings. And so a couple of tips we give with people like that is, even though like you're stuck standing for long periods of time, the first thing you can do is wear more flat shoes because they're gonna allow your ankles a bit more range of motion. The other things is like you can just do some little calf raises where you're rocking backwards and forwards. Or the other thing is you can start to practice, you know, like little ankle leans, or sort of like if you've got a table in front of you, you can just start pushing the hips forwards and back so that you're keeping your feet and ankles on. And if you can keep your ankles moving or like your muscles in your feet and your calf on, they will actually decrease a lot of the load that you're gonna put on your lower back and hopefully save your back a little bit of pain and discomfort throughout this festive period. Next, I think this is something I've suffered with a lot in the past, and I would even class myself as a recovering perfectionist, but setting realistic expectations around this holiday period. I know we all feel a lot of pressure to be perfect and have everything run perfectly, but realistically, like the odds of that happening are slim to none. There's always going to be stuff that pops up. There's always going to be, you know, last minute changes or emergencies. And I think that's where like building in enough of a buffer zone so that you're not pushing yourself to redline can help with that stress regulation aspect of it. The other thing is we aren't designed to be perfect. And I love the saying, you either get what you want or you learn what you need. And so if something doesn't go right, I always try and flip my mindset to what can I learn from this situation? How can I like become better so that it doesn't happen again in the future? Next, we've got staying hydrated. So I know that when I'm in clinic, I'm pretty good because I have a water bottle next to me. But when I'm not in clinic, I struggle a little bit because I don't have that constant reminder to drink lots of water. And so making sure that you set up that little habit of staying hydrated and also eating good food. So making sure that you're not eating a heap of junk food, or, you know, the holiday period is about overindulging, but also like working in periods of like overindulging. But then when you're not in that sort of like environment, you go back to more of your regular dieting anyway. You know, you've got all year to work it off. You can let yourself go a little bit, but all good within reason. Don't jump off a cliff with that kind of stuff. And I think staying hydrated and making sure that you're eating well throughout this period will definitely take a lot of stress and strain off your back and get you through it more comfortably. Another recovery strategy we find that pops off or drops off around this time is sleep. So sleep is one of those things where, you know, I think we're getting more and more aware around the importance of sleep and rest and recovery. But things like late social events, drinking alcohol late into the evening, all these things are going to affect your sleep. And when you sleep, that's your body's main time to rest and recover and regenerate from all your stress you put it under during the day. And so if you're sacrificing sleep and burning the candle at both ends, that will have an effect on your back. So make sure you're prioritizing sleep, get your rest and recovery in. It is a big thing and something that should never drop off, no matter what season you're in. Next, we go into stress relief. So we kind of started to touch on it with our breath work, but getting in and doing things like meditation, going for walks out in nature, getting into awe-inspiring environment. I know where we are, we're very fortunate. We live near the beach. And so a lot of people who come into clinic talk about getting out and walking around the beach, like when the weather's not too hot. But yeah, getting out into nature is a massive stress relief with that one. And I guess one of the other things that I've learned the hard way over the last few years is make sure that you're planning ahead for these things. So if you plan ahead, it means you're gonna be less rushed in the moment, which means you're gonna be less stressed. And like we said right at the start of this video, the less stress you have, the less you're probably gonna feel your back pain. And finally, I just want to leave on the holiday period is a period of time for connection and coming together, not for overloading yourself with burden and stress. So if we keep in the front of our mind that the main thing is to connect and share loving, happy memories with people, then I think hopefully that'll help regulate your stress and keep your back pain under control. If you are struggling with back pain, please go and check out our website. We have a heap of blog articles and videos for you to work through if something does pop up and you can't get into clinic or you can't book an online consult with us. But I wish you all a happy and safe festive period, and we'll see you soon. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone else that you think might find it helpful as well.